everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with my back from the blink, ever hopping, scary stronger, wifey Jessica Lee. If you've ever struggled with limitations or lack, believe you don't have enough, can't be enough, or there just isn't enough time, then do we have the Blast Past Limiting Beliefs show for you. Today we'll talk about your limiting beliefs, how to spot them, call them out, and rock it right on past them. That plus we'll talk about nature time, going stair crazy, kettle-bell fun, crystal coasts and emerald isles, and what in the world apple cider vinegar has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, Jessica. Are you ready to shine?
Well, I don't know, Michael. I have a limiting belief.
And what's that limiting belief?
It's that when I wear glasses, I feel like a nerd.
Oh, no. Well, for those that can't see it, I mean, I'm fairly biased to these glasses. We have on, oh, this is going to sound really dorky, but almost identical matching bright yellow glasses.
They are identical, aren't they?
Actually, no. You have the slightly more sophisticated, cooler, sportier model, and I have almost a little bit more the grandma horn-rimmed version.
Oh, that's right, because your eyes are set really close together.
Well, thank you. Okay, on that loving note, I don't even want to know what you're implying.
No, like I have this limiting belief that this is a belief that I am never going to get over, which is when I wear glasses, I feel like a different person. I feel even more self-conscious than I normally do, which is pretty self-conscious to begin with. Ever since I was a kid, like in second grade when I got glasses for the first time, and some kid turned and looked at me and called me Four Eyes, and it was just, I mean, it didn't help that they were like pink plastic, which I know is like in now, but back then it was not in. It wasn't cool. And I had a pretty high prescription pretty early on.
So what happened though at Trader Joe's this morning?
Oh, so we were bagging our groceries, and this Asian woman comes up to us and says, "Excuse me," and I'm thinking she needs like some paper brown bags or something. And she said, "I just wanted to say I love your matching glasses."
Woohoo! Out of the blue, unsolicited. I only paid her $10 when you weren't looking. So, okay, why are you wearing the glasses? And then the corollary is, what does apple cider vinegar have to do with anything?
Yes. Well, I just poured some apple cider vinegar into my eye.
Wait, you need to say that again for everybody, because I still have a hard time believing this one.
That was a gross exaggeration. I didn't pour it. I more like dripped some diluted apple cider vinegar into my right eye because a little over a week ago, I discovered that I had an eye ulcer. And we went to the eye doctor because, you know, I'm not used to finding white spots on my eyes, so I was disturbed and feeling desperate. And it seemed like it was out of our scope of our capability of dealing with using home or natural remedies.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because we're people where we try to save that, or so we think, to a I don't know if last resort is the right term, but we try to do all the healing that we can, stay away from antibiotics, stay away from medicines, heal with medicine, heal from within. And then we went there, and it was almost as if we just temporarily threw it all out the window. What do we do, Doc? Yeah. What do we do?
Well, so there was like this like imaginary threshold. I guess if it was just an eye infection or pink eye and my eye was just red, we would have dealt with it at home. But because there was this white spot, it was like, oh, okay, like hands up in the air, I surrender. I don't know what I'm doing here. And we've never had any encounters with anybody who's had an experience dealing with an eye ulcer. So there was no there was no story
Hmm.
that we could fall back on, like, whereas if I was diagnosed with cancer, I know exactly what I would do based on all the people that we know who healed themselves of cancer naturally without chemotherapy.
And have had on the show. Oh, I didn't even know what an eye ulcer was. I'm like Googling it.
Yeah, I know. And then of course everybody's like, it's your eye doctor ASAP. And I have no regrets about going to the eye doctor. I think it was extremely wise to go check it out and make sure that it wasn't something that required some like really emergency action. Go ahead.
So what did she tell you? What did you start doing? And then what caused you to switch?
Well, she asked me a lot of interesting questions, and she seemed really perplexed by my answers because it just wasn't adding up.
Yeah, she kept going, how long are you wearing your contacts? When was the last time you changed your contacts? Have you had your contacts in for too long? Contacts.
Right, because normally the kind of eye ulcer I had would be caused by some physical abrasion.
Or like walking into a tree, which she actually mentioned.
Yeah. In which case it would be a fungal infection. But long story short, she prescribed some antibiotics, and one antibiotic that was an eyedropper that I needed to put into my eye every hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then an antibiotic that was a cream that I believe is a petroleum-based cream, which I didn't know at the time, that I was to put on the inside of my lower eyelid before sleep every night. And I was to come back the following day, and again the following day, to make sure that the ulcer was healing or heading in the positive direction.
And so what did you find? And well, for those who aren't familiar with it, how did that cream in the middle of the night feel?
Well, both medicines hurt. And the cream, so they have you put it in at night because once you blink, you can't see it. Your vision just coats your entire eye. It's like this protective cream that's sealing your ulcer so that it can heal without getting infected. And yeah, it's just really bizarre.
Actually, that concept is really bizarre because if I want something to heal fast on my skin, I actually want it to be able to breathe better to be able to heal.
Well, actually, when I have an open wound, I'm using a honey salve to keep it moist.
Which is one of the things I read online, is people talked about making a honey mixture and putting the honey directly into your eye. I thought for their bacterial properties. Sorry to take you off there.
Anyway, and as far as the drops go, I was really surprised to find that like moments after putting the eye drop in my eye, I could taste the antibiotic in the back of my throat. And it makes sense. It's all interconnected, but I just never thought about it. And I would end up having to blow my nose too. And, but it was just a really disgusting feeling or taste. And my body was like, blah, like,
don't kill us.
like this is poison. But I did it for I think about 2 full days. And I went back the next day. There was some reduction in size in the size of the ulcer, and that's what they're looking for. They measure it. But she was hoping, and each day I went back, it was actually a different doctor. So I got 3 opinions, which is kind of funny. Because I had to tell my story about being licked by the cat over the eye, and no, I did not wear my contacts, and no, I have not wear my contacts since, and yeah, no, I did not walk into a tree. So I went back, and the second doctor was expecting the eye ulcer to have shrunken more than it had. She said, usually with antibiotics, you expect a faster recovery. And so she wanted me to come back the next day. And I came back the next day, and there was no change in the size of the ulcer. And my discomfort, which was pain, every single time I blinked, I was experiencing pain. And I kind of blink a lot. Most people probably do. Um, and I kind of, to describe what the sensation is like, I would tell people it's kind of like having a canker sore, but instead of the canker sore being in your mouth, it's on your eyeball. So like if you move your lips or you're eating, it's just constant pain. Um, and so that third day, the level of pain was still the same as the day before. It wasn't the worst. The worst was before I'd seen any eye doctor at all. So there was progress, but it was really not at the rate that they were hoping for or that I was really looking forward to. So this eye doctor wrote a referral to go send me to an eye specialist who they expected would take an eye culture, which I can't imagine is a very pleasant experience. and even though my health insurance would have covered it, I just did not feel like going down that route of sending cultures off to a lab and then like this like guess and test kind of. It's not anything against doctors, right? I'm not saying I know better than a doctor, but I am saying that, because I'm with my body 24/7 and I'm monitoring it like crazy, and I can tell on an hourly basis what's having what kind of effect, that I am somewhat empowered. Yes, yeah. So I was open-minded, and immediately after I was handed the referral note with the phone number for the doctor, for the specialist, I called. I hadn't even left the eye doctor's office yet. And the receptionist just was not nice. She didn't even like try. And I gotta think that, that there's a relationship between the people that work for you and you. So if the people who work for you aren't happy, then that's probably a reflection of management. I mean, there's a lot of factors going on. She could have been having a bad day because of something that happened at home or in traffic or whatever, but it just didn't feel right.
I like it when those things happen. When the don't feel rights happen, I often see them as signposts to look another way. When those subtle things that we ignore and we just push on past. Yeah, I made the appointment, everything was fine. I didn't really enjoy the receptionist or something, but it's all good. And we ignore those signs. Or, yeah, I had to repair the car before I went out, but I got it taken care of. It's all good. Those can be signs that we get to look at.
Yeah, and also they couldn't get me in for another 2 weeks. So I would have been like doing this hourly antibiotic eye drop thing for 2 weeks and maybe not seeing any progress and still wondering what the heck is going on. And I just decided enough. Like
Well, there's the expression, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And at some point you're like, that's it. I'm taking charge.
And you were helping too. You were doing your energy healing work on me with more earnest, and I was attempting to do energy healing work on myself. But it's just something about, I don't know why it is, but it's more challenging for me to sense the energy flowing through my hand to myself than it is when I'm working on somebody else. So perhaps there was a lack of faith in my own ability to heal myself using energy. But yeah, that night was a rough night because I was just exhausted. I think having constant pain is just exhausting. It's this low level stress throughout your entire day.
And I've got to guess that putting an antibiotic in you once an hour, because I'm a big believer in our microbiome. The little beasties that we have inside of us are there for our highest good, and they're there to protect us. They're our intelligence. They're our not just our digestive system, our immune system, and everything. And so when you start giving yourself antibiotics, you're starting to suppress things, and that drags your energy level down too.
Yeah, and so I did order some advanced strength probiotics that I was taking on a regular basis to kind of offset the antibiotic. But so that night I was determined to pull out all the tricks, quote unquote tricks, or tools that I knew. And so the first thing I did was an hour-long meditation with setting intention and visualizing my eye completely healed. And the way I did that was I was kind of photocopying my healthy eye and overlaying it on the other one. Because sometimes when you spend so much time staring at the wound or whatever part of your body is not well, it's sort of hard to picture it 100% healthy again. But luckily, we do have two of many things. So I used the other eye. And then when I was doing that meditation, I mean, sometimes when I'm sitting in meditation, I get kind of lazy, I'll let the thoughts come in. I'll ride the thought wave for a while before I actually say, okay, done with that thought, But this time it was thought arises, kick the thought out.
I don't have time for you, thought.
Exactly. And there was no spacing out or forgetting that I was focused on an intention, and I was focused on visualizing a healthy eye. And then after that, I decided to do Ho'oponopono. And if you look online, there are several variations, I guess. So there's 4 lines to it, 4 phrases, and it seems I've seen it in every single order possible. But the one I prefer starts with, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And at first I thought, I would repeat this mantra. And for some reason I thought I should be apologizing to my eye, because perhaps I had ignored some early signs that something was awry, and I could have prevented the ulcer. But then it occurred to me that I wanted to say every single word with as much feeling and heart as I could possibly muster. And then it occurred to me, in order to do that, I have to spend a long time, minutes, on every single word, understanding as best as I possibly could the meaning behind every single word. So the whole mantra took me half an hour.
I think,
And go ahead.
I just think that's very cool. That's all.
So I started with the word I, and it's a very simple word, usually. But I was contemplating, who is the I that is about to say this mantra? Who is the I who's about to express love? And who is the I going to express love to, or what? Where is this all coming from? And then eventually I was on to the word love, and I'm asking, where is this love coming from? Where is this love going? And questions like that. And then when I was on you, it was, who is the you? Is the you me?
I wondered this one in Ho'oponopono before.
Is the you everyone? Is the you my I? Is the you all of the cells and the microorganisms that are living in a co-created community that make up my I? That's a lot of yous. And it was such a wonderful experience because it felt so expansive. Because when you start asking who is the I, you can't help but feel more expansive because you realize the I isn't just this little I, this personality of you. And then when you get to love and you ask, where's this love coming from? Well, you realize that it's coming from infinite source. And it's infinite.
That's a lot of love.
That's expansive. You don't get more expansive than infinite. So it was just such a beautiful experience, this half hour. I mean, the whole thing. And this was Thursday night, and we had our group class planned during this time. And afterwards, I just drifted off into sleep. Like I was finally able to sleep. And I ended up missing class. And I felt a little sad about that, but this needed to happen, And the big learning that came from this was, again, when we ignore the calls to go deep, I mean, like, to go deep into your spiritual practice. And I have been hearing the call, and I have been like putting it off or going, just like skimming the surface, because each morning that's when I do most of the bulk of my spiritual practice. Especially lately with you being under the weather a couple weeks ago, my schedule was just thrown off. So I was getting up later, or I was taking care of some of your needs, and I wasn't getting all of my meditation done. And I let go of it all. And I think it's good to be able to let go of even your spiritual practice and not be attached to that even. Because then you could start beating on yourself for not doing your spiritual practice, which is not helpful, right? And this was an opportunity for me to dive deep again. And I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been so desperate. And I actually made a Facebook post about this for our group coaching private Facebook group. It was kind of a long-winded post, so I ended up turning it into a blog post, my first blog post. Not exactly how I envisioned my first blog post, but
well, let me pause you right there. This is a big deal. So
yeah.
you've talked about for a little while starting a blog. You really have not Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you haven't put yourself out there in this way. And you envisioned that someday the day would come when you would start. So that's a big day.
Yeah. So I don't remember the order of things. But at some point, I was doing more research on alternative natural remedies. And I had been using colloidal silver.
Mm-hmm.
And the eye doctor said that that was probably helpful. That probably stopped the spread of the infection. But she told me to stop while I was using the antibiotics. And I thought, okay, I guess she just wants to know what's doing what. And so I had stopped the colloidal silver. But I went back to it because the antibiotics weren't doing anything anymore. And they tasted awful and felt awful. And I didn't want to hurt my gut any more than I had. And then I did more research, and my eye had gotten more swollen. So I read that using tea bags, either warm or cool, I heard both ways, but using a green tea bag compress on your eye would help reduce the inflammation. And there's some chemical in the tea that helps the healing as well. I don't remember what it's called. And then I came across apple cider vinegar. And I was like, where was this last weekend? And people were talking about how they started apple cider vinegar one day, and then overnight, everything was gone. And they were actually talking about pink eye, conjunctivitis, which is not what I had. But it just made sense. I'm like, apple cider vinegar. I mean, after I cut meat for the kitties on the cutting board, I use apple cider vinegar to sterilize it. If the kitty has a hairball and vomits on the floor, I use apple cider vinegar.
If I have a cold, I use apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is probably going to hurt like a beep. But I'm ready to be done with this. I don't need any more learnings.
This is when you were just so when you're ready to put apple cider vinegar in your eye, you are going for it.
So there's all these different ratios that people said they used. So there was nothing that was really, a blanket rule. There was one parent that said for her daughter, she mixed 1 part apple cider vinegar with 12 parts water, because how can you put apple cider vinegar, like a strong strength dose of apple cider vinegar into a kid's eye? And then there were people who said, yeah, I used 1 part apple cider vinegar with 3 parts water, and it was just all over the board. And I was like, well, if it's going to hurt like a beep, I may as well go for like the strongest. Well, okay, I guess the strongest possible solution would have been straight apple cider vinegar. I didn't do that, but I did 1 part apple cider vinegar and 1 part water. And I did that every hour. It wasn't a full day because half the day was over already, but I did that every hour until I went to sleep. And it was the strangest sensation. You'd think like, oh, that's so much worse than putting an antibiotic drop into your eye. And it was so much more painful. I mean, like, I've never experienced such a strong burning sensation in my eye ever before. But it actually felt so much better than putting the antibiotic in my eye. And I don't think it was like psychological. I don't think it was in my head saying, oh, this is good for you, so it's going to feel better. Like, the body reacted in a way that said, I want this. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. I mean, you were there.
Yeah, you were like, oh, this one shouldn't be that bad. Ow, 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 ow. And then you're like,
And
let's do it again.
I'm not usually very vocal about, like, when I experience pain, I'm not usually that vocal. When I'm at the gym and I'm lifting a lot of weight, you don't hear me grunting. I mean,
You've broken a bone or two and just kept going. Your pain threshold is,
yeah, not knowing that I'd broken the bone though. But
yes.
yeah.
And that's half the point too. Just a flesh wound.
So yeah, it was actually very humbling yet oddly enjoyable experience. And the next day, there was no pain in my eye. I mean, it was still really pink. I woke up and it was still swollen.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning, it was the most swollen, probably because I was lying horizontally, and the inflammation just would sit there. But the pain was gone. Hallelujah! Apple-cider vinegar.
And then,
I mean, I'm sure the other spiritual work I was doing played a part too, and perhaps it was setting the intention that led me to find the apple cider vinegar remedy in the first place.
and 2-3 days later, the ulcer was much smaller and less visible.
Yeah, it was actually white to begin with, and through the antibiotic stage, it still maintained this white color, but after the apple cider vinegar, the discoloration had disappeared. It was clear. It was well on its way to healing, and it's still healing. The eye doctor says that these kinds of things normally take a month. I don't know that it needs to take a month. It could be far less, but I'm definitely within the quote unquote normal range.
So let's segue from there and let's talk about limiting beliefs. What did this really teach you about limiting? Because we're talking about blasting past them, and you've been challenging me. We went for a hike recently, and every sentence that I said, you just kept saying, that's a limiting belief. That's a limiting belief. That's a limiting belief.
Yeah, I think in the end I decided every belief we have is limiting.
And even that's a limiting belief.
Well, the limiting belief was that at some point I don't have the ability to heal my own body. I need to go to somebody else. And that's not saying that we shouldn't go see doctors. I mean, if I were to redo everything, I would still go to the eye doctor and get things checked out, so I would have a better understanding of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for all I knew, it could have been this highly contagious viral thing that could like end up growing to the size of my eyeball, and I wouldn't be able to see, like, I don't know.
A claw comes out of your eye.
It turns into an egg. It gives birth to, yeah.
Oh, wait, different movie.
Oh, it's actually a spider egg. No.
Oh, God.
Well, you see how the mind can just go like crazy on you.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I actually thought it was a spider egg, but
And I must say for myself, when you came back after the first day and the doc had said very little improvement, was concerned, wanted you to see a specialist, or maybe it was even the second day when they said no change, that I was telling myself I have to make sure to stay out of a place of fear. And if I can't entirely stay out of a place of fear, because I have to believe that this is going to work itself out, that I can't share that fear with you, because giving you my fear is not going to help you to heal.
Yeah, that didn't help at all. There was one morning, I think I said that there appears to be no change. Oh, I think I told you that it's still just as painful as the day before, and you said something like, "Well, we better get you to see another specialist right now." And I'm like, "What?"
Whoops.
I'm like,
Out of love. It was out of love. So take us back to limiting beliefs.
yeah. So the whole theme of limiting beliefs really came out during our hike yesterday. So you've been spending a lot of time on what you call your perch.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, why don't you share what you've been experiencing?
Well, and I'm on my perch right now, and I'm kind of twitchy. And actually, bear with me for one brief second here, because I've got on my outdoor glasses, not my reading glasses.
Yeah.
Or not reading, but not my close glasses. And so you're talking about eyes, and my eyes are like fatiguing into the back of my head as I've got on my distance glasses. So bear with me 1 second.
I didn't know I could talk this much about an eye. The show's almost over.
Okay, took a quick note on that. So what
How long have we been going for?
37 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, and you might, if you want to tilt down the camera a little bit, you got a lot of space above you. Or you can just stay in close. Yep, that's good. So what I've been experiencing is I've been spending a lot of time, you said, on the perch. And so I've been spending a lot of time on this stool that I have on this kind of raised desk setup that I have here, because I've been doing both a lot of interviews and a lot of coaching. And a limiting belief for me has been, how do I fit everything in? And I've really been trying to fine-tune my systems, particularly after we spoke yesterday. I did some real rearranging of things to see how things fit better. But I've been going squirrely, particularly first thing in the morning. I think it's my higher self or my inner child that's saying, we need to get off of this chair more and get to nature more. And if you do that, I'm going to feel a lot better. And if not, you're going to feel like a caged squirrel. And that... You were challenging me even on the walk yesterday. Is that a limiting belief? Is you don't have enough time a limiting belief? Is a belief that you can't be comfortable at your desk a limiting belief? Is the amount of hours that you're working a limiting belief?
And also, what you're trying to fit into your schedule, is that a limiting belief that you need to fit these things into your schedule? Are they the right things that you should be fitting into your schedule? And so I think taking a walk in the woods was a great idea, because it really helped us take a step back and look at a bigger picture.
Yeah, and that's, I had been saying, whether it seems like there's time or not time, we have to get to the forest. Even if we don't feel well, we have to get to the forest to get out of that fishbowl, to be able to look at things. And I guess it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm a really great coach when it comes to coaching others. But it's hard for me to be able to step back and look at my own life when I'm in the fishbowl or when I'm on the perch. I need to get off of that perch and really fly away from that perch to be able to really step back and look at what's going on.
And I think a lot of the discomfort that you were experiencing, because I know you shared this in some other shows, maybe with CJ, that you were feeling like you were making a lot of mistakes, or that you were screwing up. And
really, my subconscious each morning I was getting a series of bad dreams as I felt I was sitting on the chair more and more. And so I'd wake up each morning with this, you ever had those dreams where in the dream, suddenly you're there for an exam, you're there to take the SATs, you're there for whatever, and you didn't do your homework or you didn't study, and all of a sudden, that's basically all the dreams that I was having. And so you wake up feeling like you've screwed everything up. You haven't screwed anything up, but you just spent a better part of the time that you were supposed to be hitting the reset button being told how you mess things up. And now that's coming to you for a reason. and to guide you. And so I would get that. And so instead of starting the day as kind of a happy, chipper guy, I'm going, oh my God, what have I done? And so, I go and do my automatic writing. That helps. I do my meditation. That helps. I check my email. That doesn't help. And then I look at everything that I have to get done for the day. Choice. That I choose to get done for the day.
Yeah.
And because of the way I started out, unless I really go and take a step back at that point and throw myself into a second meditation or get myself to the gym for some movement, I've been struggling a little bit. And I've been throwing all of my coaching tools at it. And it's really cool because when I'm coaching, a lot of the things that come out that I say are much wiser than I am. and so I've been listening as I've been coaching, and I'm going, good point, Michael. Yeah, you do get to do that. Another good point, Michael. You get to do that as well. And so I've been trying to figure out my way through this.
Yeah. Now, the point that I'm driving at, though, is that there's a part of you that knows when something is a little off track, a little misaligned. And when we ignore that, that's when we start running into this really uncomfortable situations.
Mm-hmm. I think kind of going back to your eye analogy, or your eye for a little bit, oftentimes we have to look at what's going on. So yesterday was just a brilliant day for me. So first off, I needed that time in nature, which we haven't taken recently. I've now got it into my calendar 3 days a week. Moving forward, it should. I'll stop myself on that. I like 7 days a week, but it's a busy time period for us. So be it. But with that said, I then looked at, when we came back, I looked at my entire calendar. Every day, nuts and bolts, what has to be in, where does it fit? It's going to take a lot of fine tuning from here, but I kind of took out my coaching magnifying glass and went after my whole schedule. So that was an incredibly important piece. And there's another piece of it. Go.
Wouldn't you say that that's a piece that you've known, that part of you, that on some level you've known that you've needed to deal with, but you just hadn't yet?
Yeah, I had been adding more and more, and I was very patting myself on the back, which I deserve for all the pieces that I was putting in as I got better from being sick. But I hadn't really put the calendar under a fine-tooth, what do you call it, fine-tooth microscope? That makes no sense, fine-tooth comb. But I hadn't put it under the microscope. And so now I was doing that. Another piece which my subconscious registered is we hit a power spike a few weeks ago on the show. I'm not sure what took place. The show was going up and up and up and up and up and up. And then it went down and down and down and down and down. And we never started, we have fantastic numbers for the show, and we never came back down to where we started. With that said, I needed to look at why I felt maybe some people had shared, it brought our numbers up, and people didn't quite resonate, and they went away. But I needed to look and actually not wonder, but actually look at what was going on to understand things. And that was another piece of, it's something to do with your eyes and looking at, of stepping back and looking at things. It's sort of like we had on an amazing guest on, it'll be airing tomorrow, so it'll come out the day before this, on your daily worth, on looking at your money, your financial situations. And oftentimes when we're scared of money, we don't look at money, which is actually when we need to look at our finances the most. And so when there's this part of my subconscious going, what did you do with the show? Why did it have this beautiful, massive power spike and then come back down? Yeah. Rather than saying you screwed something up, because as I get an automatic writing, Michael, it's not yours to screw up. This is bigger than you, so you couldn't have screwed it up. But I could at least feel better by looking at it, difficult or easy, sort of like you going into the mirror and looking at what's going on with your eye. I needed to look at it. And when I did, not only did things become clear, but it felt better. There was such sort of an energy shift of looking at what was going on that released a lot of tension and pressure on me, helped me understand things better, and I think will help me with any limiting beliefs I have around this too.
Yeah. So for me, a big lesson with the eye was that I needed to turn inward and really dive inward. And I'm not sure if this is the case with you, but it sounds like you had these subtle hints coming out, like these this urges coming up from within, to trying to push you to look at things. And so you had to go in and figure out, what the heck am I trying to tell myself?
Absolutely. That's been a big piece of it, is both to go in and see what I'm trying to tell myself, and then if you want to call it out, okay, the schedule's not quite working, it's scary, let's dive into it and take a look at it. First, I had to understand, and this is the diving in, where is that fear coming from? Why am I waking up shaky and nervous, which is not my natural state of morninghood? Instead, it should be a place of woohoo! And instead, it's been a place of, oh God.
Yeah, it's the unknowns, right?
Yeah.
It's always the unknowns that make us feel so uncomfortable and fearful. And so if we could just face the unknown straight on, just get it over with. I mean, then you realize it's actually not as scary as you first thought.
Mm-hmm. So before we wrap things up, because we have to wrap things up fairly quickly here, we were out on the trails yesterday. You were challenging me on every single belief that I have.
Yes.
Which was
Yeah, I started...
Go ahead.
I started talking about how social media is a necessity for all business today, and you can't neglect social media. And you went on a rant about how much you hate social media. And
while I could step back and I'm going, yeah, she's right, that's a limiting belief, and you can't even say that, and blah blah blah. So in the meanwhile, as my ego is having a pity party of why I don't like social media, I'm going, I am so busted. But I'm going to continue down this railroad track.
I mean, you're giving me all these reasons, and I'm like...
And if I was coaching a client, I would, yeah.
And I think I used that several times on YouTube. I was like, is this what you would tell your coaching client?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyway, a huge limiting belief was thinking that working on social media would mean that you'd have to allot a huge amount of time out of your schedule devoted to social media. And we determined that's not the case, that was a limiting belief.
Yeah, it's... I write a newsletter almost daily. Well, not almost daily. It's been every 2 to 3 days right now. Although I'm getting from automatic writing that's something I should be working towards doing on a daily basis. I'm also going to post that on the website now. So we found a way to multi-purpose. That was the term you used.
Well, you're the king of creating content. So that's not an issue. We have tons of content to work with. It's like you're saying, repurposing the content that you've already created. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have years worth of content already just from the show being on air for 1 year.
Yeah, 500. This will be episode like 531 or something. And so we're going to take my newsletter, we're going to create a blog, so you can go on the website and you can read a daily blog of mine now, once I figure out how to upload it as a blog. But that would be a limiting belief to say I couldn't. So I'll get that figured out, and we can take part of that and use that for posts as well, so that I can help inspire and help people shine throughout the day. So I think that's been important to help me overcome those limiting beliefs. And then there was one that I'll use a term called linking. And this I thought was incredibly powerful, which is if I take the time to look at current events. And you said specifically, if you see something that the president, for instance, has tweeted. If you see a tweet, write a tweet. Not a tweet about that, but write a positive, uplifting tweet. One of the things that you would normally write anyway. But
Yeah.
if you read a tweet, that means you have the time to go write one on your own.
Exactly. I said, if you're going to be spending time looking at other people's tweets that aren't actually enriching your life, then you better tweet something positive in response.
And I got 3 tweets out yesterday, which is beyond miraculous in my world. I know that's extremely humble, but like 3 tweets. Woohoo! I did it, and I've already got out a tweet or 2 today, and a Facebook post, and the newsletter, and then we'll see about turning it into a blog. So I'm doing it.
And the tweeting isn't actually taking up more time, is it? I mean,
Marginal.
because we talked about repurposing content that you already have. So what you're doing is, aside from when you just, come up with something on a whim, which I'm sure happens all the time for you, you're taking little nuggets of wisdom from your newsletter, which is pretty lengthy, and tweeting those. And all it takes is copying and pasting, because not everybody consumes information the same way. Some people are on the newsletter list, and some people never subscribe to newsletters, but they're on social media. So it's not like you're inundating people with the same stuff. You're just reaching 2 different audiences.
By diving in, one of the big areas that I realized, because when I look at the limiting beliefs and I have to laugh at myself and go, she's right, that is a limiting belief and that gets to be thrown out, I then ask myself, where does that come from? And one of the places is certainly not wanting to either be judged. Maybe that's it, not wanting to be judged at the end of the day. One would think with this show, I don't worry about that, but I guess there's a certain part of my ego that's still, will they like it? Will they not like it? How many likes will I get? Did it do well? And I'm going, don't have the bandwidth to want to, even that's a limiting belief, to want to deal with that. But I realized that the big energy block for me was photos, which is, I've been told that if you put a photo with your post, it does much better. But choosing a photo takes time. And so I've been saying, well, if you don't choose a photo, there's no point in doing your, Just because it does much better if you have a photo doesn't mean your words aren't valuable and appreciated. And if you're going to do no posts because it'll only do better with a photo, that's ridiculous.
It's almost as if you were going for perfection.
Bingo.
By requiring a photo to go along with your post. And so this is bringing me back to my blog post, which is, I thought, in order to start a blog, I had to write some blog about telling my life story and like why I was starting a blog and what my intentions were and blah, 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 which is kind of like a small little thesis. And it was a mountain. And I had started talking about starting a blog last fall, and I said, okay, by 2017, I'm going to start my blog. I'm going to launch it in January, and it's February, and I haven't done anything. And then the other day, when I had written that Facebook post, I thought, well, what the heck? Let's just throw this up there. Can't hurt, And at least I've overcome that initial hurdle, and I've launched it. And it's not perfect, but in today's age, people appreciate authenticity. They appreciate the rawness, the real worldness. So it's out there. And now it's so much easier to think about writing another blog post and another one. And for the first time, this is really exciting to me. For the first time, first time in a long time, several decades, I'm creating something that's entirely for myself. Meaning I'm not trying to sell or market or promote anything or anyone else. I'm not even trying to sell or promote myself. If that happens as a secondary thing, cool. But this is just another way for me to express myself, express my creativity. And that's really exciting because I haven't done that since I was a kid.
That's cool, because then it's coming all from, well, it's called Jessica Open-Hearted, and then that's coming straight from the heart.
Yeah. And there's a part of me that's a little scared that nothing creative will come out.
Which is a huge limiting belief, which we know isn't the case.
Well, I'm not going to let it stop me. And then there's another part that's really excited about what's going to come out. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I was creating a little graphic for it, and it's kind of quick and dirty, but it was really fun because I was just, I didn't have to think about, okay, is this going to represent Inspire Nation the way I want it to, or is it going to represent Michael the way he wants to be represented? It was just for me. And that feels so expansive. It feels so open, like I have so much freedom. Like there's no screwing it up, because whatever comes out naturally, organically, is naturally me.
So you've been telling me that I need to keep my woohoos under control. So I'm like holding it back, That's a woohoo! There's one last topic that I want to cover, and we get to wrap it up within the next few minutes here. Oh, I guess I should put out, my Twitter is Inspire7billion. So is my Twitter account, if anybody wants to come join me. And I get to go to that place, which is going to take a little time, which is just sharing open-hearted as well, which ultimately has to be the goal. If the goal is about, for instance, increasing your Twitter numbers, you go nowhere. If your goal is about helping others and sharing from your heart, then who knows what takes place. That's coming from a much more special place.
And what's the name of your blog?
My blog is Daily Shine, Michael's Daily Shine.
Yes. Which is a brand new name that I haven't actually added to the website yet.
But you will. Okay, really, really briefly. When we talk about how I was the last, was it a week or two ago, or recently, more recently than that, there's another word that can describe the tension that I was feeling, which is creative angst, which is oftentimes before things take place, it's a real rattling of your cage. Mm-hmm. Things feel off, things feel wrong, things feel as incredibly wrong as they possibly can be, and you're going, what is going on? And for myself, it meant surf the wave. It didn't mean go completely nuts bonkers, but you're going, why am I feeling this way? Oftentimes, there's a birthing process going on. And you don't realize, and as from what I understand birthing goes, birthing is not an easy process. This creative process of something new, something better, some big change coming out of the cocoon that's going to take place is really, really uncomfortable in the middle of it. And I think that's what I was going through to help me take my game to the next level. And probably some really special things will come out of it that I wasn't even aware of. But in the middle of it, you can't see that. It's why it's so important never to take a snapshot of your life, which is sort of like my father-in-law coming in and seeing me in the middle of whatever cooking or something I'm doing and saying, well, that's completely all wrong. Well, that's a snapshot. Maybe I did just spill something, or maybe something was taking place. It's not the big picture look at things. You can never judge a moment accurately. First off, we can never judge ourselves accurately. We're stuck in the fishbowl, so we have no right to judge ourselves. But looking at any particular moment in our lives, there is absolutely no reason to go nutty over it, even if you are going nutty, because you have no idea big picture what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think that there was a lot more going on behind the scenes to where the experiences and the discomfort, sort of like the discomfort you experienced with your eye this past week, are actually going to promote something great for us and great for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think all those times when we feel like we're in a blender and everything's going wrong, those are opportunities for us to turn inward and go deep, like dive as deep as we possibly can, because that's where the answers are. That's where we're going to get the guidance. And okay, so is there time for me to share this little visualization, not visualization, but analogy, I guess?
We'll call this last words of wisdom, Ms. Lee.
So you're often talking about how we're circling this mountain, and we're it seems like we're going to the same place or experiencing the same thing over and over again, but we're actually spiraling upwards.
Always.
Even though it seems like we're going in a circle. Well, we are going in a circle, but we're going up. And
so to pause you briefly, which means that we often experience things where we go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm back here again. How did this happen? I've gone nowhere. I've learned nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so to circle the mountain, the road makes subtle turns. Maybe not so subtle, right? But sometimes we've got the pedal to the metal and we get tunnel vision. And I thought about this. Most tunnels are straight, the ones that we drive through, anyway. Right? So when we've got tunnel vision and we're going pedal to the metal, we're going straight. We're not looking left or right.
Mm-hmm.
But the road is turning. And we're trying to go straight. We're trying to drive off of the cliff. And so when your internal warning alarms are going off, and you're experiencing all this discomfort, like you're totally off track or misaligned, well, you kind of are, because the road's turning and you're still headed straight because you're too busy going as fast as you possibly can after what you think is still your number one target, if you even know what that is. Sometimes your target is just to keep doing the same thing over and over again because that feels comfortable. Like that's what you know how to do. You've practiced it now for a while. So it's been kind of working. Let's just keep doing it. But you got to turn because the road's turning. And your higher self, your intuition is telling you, hello, stop what you're doing. Get out of the car. Take a step back. Re-examine the road. The road's turning. And when you take that break and you dive inward, you find out how to make the turn. And then once you figure that out, you can start going back up the mountain again instead of driving off the side of the mountain and then crashing and burning, which you'll survive. But then you've got a bigger mess to pick up. And you might be on fire, and that kind of, that burns. Like apple cider vinegar in your eye.
Oh my God. But it's a very good point. It's a very good point. Each of these things do mean to take a step back and to analyze what's going on and really actually step away from your GPS too, because you need to see this with your own eyes, and to see it with your own eyes, like you're saying, you have to go in on the inside. You have to. All change. Everywhere we want to go in life, it's all an inside job.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good?
I think so. I think I get to put more apple cider vinegar in my eye.
All right. Well,
I've diluted it now. I'm weaning myself off. I'm like a 1-to-3 ratio now.
very good. And we get to go out and play after this. So, because we're going to go step out of the fishbowl once again. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
Jessica Lee
saying, be well, have fun, dive deep, get the heck out of that fishbowl, and who knows what with the apple cider vinegar, and shine bright. Woohoo! Woohoo! Awesome. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!